Hello and welcome to this look at Agatha Christie in vintage Penguin paperback. So lots of books to show you here. Perhaps not as exciting jackets as the Pam books from my last video. However, really interesting as well. And there's some real landmarks within the Penguin history connected with Agatha Christie. The two are inextricably linked. So it's a really interesting story and one which I'm looking forward to telling you. So sit back, relax, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get to it. So here we have the very earliest Penguin book that was written by Agatha Christie. Now, she had the honour, you notice this book is number 6 in the Penguin series. She had the honour of being one of the first authors to be published by Penguin in their initial batch of 10 books, all the way back in July 1935. Now, so the rumour, stroke legend goes that Agatha Christie was instrumental in the actual creation of Penguin books. Alan Lane had published Christie's first few novels when he was at the Bodley Head, and he had a relationship with Christie, and he was actually visiting her for the weekend, her and her husband, Max Malawan, down in Paynton-stroke Torquay. And it was on the way back from one of these visits in 1934 that he was stuck waiting at Exeter Station, waiting for the train to go back to London. Looking around for something to read, looking at the bookstall there, it literally was just full of expensive hardcovers, and he just wanted something cheap to read just on that journey back to London. And that's where he came up with the price of sixpence, which was what a pack of cigarettes cost back then, and to come up with the idea of a cheap paperback book for sixpence. So that's how the story goes. That's where the idea for Penguin came along. And it was only fitting, I suppose, that he used one of his old friends as one of the launch titles. So this book did come out in a first printing of just 10,000 in July 1935, but was hastily reprinted. So this initial batch was sold by Woolworths in Britain, and they were the initial 10 were an immediate success, and Penguin was launched. However, for some reason, there was an issue with the copyright on this one, and number 6, which is what this one was hastily withdrawn after just a couple more printings, and it was replaced with a new number 6, which is Christie's Murder on the Links. But although this shares the number 6 number, it actually didn't come out until 1936, so like a year later. So that's that. And then once all the wranglings had got sorted out, then Styles got re-released as number 61, which is a little bit later on in the series. So that's the slightly mysterious way that Christie came into Penguin. Now, that was pretty much it. Collins' White Circle had their own paperback imprint at the time, and they were publishing a lot of Penguin books, as of course were Pan, although they didn't really kick in until the late 1940s, early 1950s. However, Alan Lane, being a huge fan of Agatha Christie, suggested that possibly they could publish, with the arrangement of her hardback publisher, which at that time was Collins, that they could publish 10 books in a print run of 100,000 each, basically putting 1 million Agatha Christie books in print in one hit, as what they call a Penguin 10. And that's exactly what they did. And this is a bit of a foxed copy, but it doesn't matter, because this it just gives you an idea of what the idea was behind it. So let's have a little look here, if we can have a look. Yeah, so it says, this is one of 10 books by Agatha Christie and published in August 1948 as Penguins. The total printing of this Penguin edition being 1 million copies. The present edition of these titles is published by special arrangement with Messrs. Collins, publishers of the original editions. And then it lists the other titles in the series with a few reviews. So basically, these next 10 books formed that original Agatha Christie million. So we've got Appointment with Death. Pop these here. ABC Murders. Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Lord Edgware dies. And you see these are all uniform editions, all published exactly the same month, with a print run of 100,000 each for these first editions. Murder at the Vicarage. Let's try and get these all in picture, because although they're not as colourful as the Pan books, they are, once again, I think, really beautiful editions, and I do love my Penguin books. Seven Dials Mystery. Let's slip those over there. Actually, we got Peril at End House. Nice copy of that one. Wish all my Penguin books were that good condition. Murder on the Orient Express. And these were 1 shilling and 6pence when they're published. Sitterford Mystery. And the final one of the 10 was the Mystery of the Blue Train. So, on the back of the million sellers, Penguin thought, that's rather a good idea. So let's repeat the process. So they did. So at the back, it says, in 1948, 1 million green penguins by Agatha Christie made publishing history. They were all issued simultaneously, 100,000 copies of 10 titles, and they were all reprinted within a matter of months. The enterprise was successful, far too successful, in fact, to remain unique, and in succeeding years, tens of Naomi Morris, Marjorie Allingham, Carter Dixon and Simonon have joined the ranks of Penguin crime. In the meantime, the original 10 reappeared again and again, and constant requests for further books by England's most popular detective writer have at last led to the publication of a second 10. So at this time, they are all Agatha Christie's own favourites. The 10 books which she herself has chosen should represent her in the Penguin list, and for each she has written a special introduction. And these are issued by arrangement with Collins, the original publishers, and then there's the list. So this 10 are even more special because Christie herself selected the titles to be published, and also she's written a new introduction to each one. So this is The Body in the Library, and this one was published in 1953, so 5 years after they first did it. And it says once again, like Agatha Christie, the first crime writer to have 10 books published. This is a selection of a further 10 of Mrs. Christie's own choice. And then this is Christie's first introduction to The Body in the Library. And each one of these has got a separate, brand new Christie introduction. And that alone makes these well worth tracking down. Whether these introductions have ever been reprinted, I don't know. I mean, they're not particularly long, but they are very, very nice, aren't they? So it's The Crooked House. Death Comes as the End. Death on the Nile. Labours of Hercules. And that actually does remind me, I have got, well, I'll show you in a moment, but I've actually got a more up-to-date Labours of Hercules tea towel of all things. Miss Marple and the 13 Problems. The Moving Finger. So although these aren't, as interesting perhaps, say, as those brilliant Pam books with their amazing covers, even so, these still have their own appeal, and these Penguin books really are fantastic to read. This is why I'm such a fan of them. Mysterious Mr. Quinn, bit of a foxed copy, that one. And the last one of the 10 that I've got, I am missing an odd one, is Parker Pyne Investigates. So that's those. So I'll pop those just over to one side because slightly running out of room here. Okay. Now I've just got 2 more books to show you. So pretty much that was it for Penguin. They just published just a handful more, as most of them by this point were being published in Fontana, who were the paperback imprint for Christie's hardback publisher Collins. So Penguin didn't get a look in, and also of course they were sharing some of the list with Pam Books. They did publish a couple more, which was Murder in Mesopotamia, The Big Four, which is one I actually am missing, and the slightly controversial one again, and then there were none. Now, and that was the very last one they published, and this one was in, when did this one come out? 19... 1958. Now, I've just got one more thing to show you, and that's a bit of fun, really. And that's this, which is the Labour of Hercules tea towel. So, completely utilitarian, classic friction rather than fiction. And it's an Agatha Christie tea towel. This is obviously a bit of fun. And I think upstairs I might even have an Agatha Christie t-shirt somewhere in like the penguin colours. But this is great, isn't it? I'd never use it on my mugs. Complete and unabridged. And it is just a copy of that classic Labours of Hercules cover from the early 1950s that we just had a look at. Nice little bit of Christie memorabilia there. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that little look at the Agatha Christie's in Penguin book. Now, I do have yet another Agatha Christie video planned, and this is going to be reprints in Penguin and Pan, which have got different covers to the originals. And also, I've got a bit of a collection from other publishers, some of them pre-war, lots of American editions as well, which I think would make a video in its own right. So look out for that one in the future. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.